Well, thank you for joining the Grim and Bloody podcast. Happy to have you on for another night of horror. My name is Anthony DeRowan, owner of Death Parade Film Fest. Joining me, as always, Kevin Nicholson, writer for Horror Newsnet and We Belong Dead magazine. Joe Flynn, host and producer of Create TV, and Al Omega, host, Creature Feature Show. Good to have you back, Al.
Good to be here.
Looking good. Yeah, happy to have you back. Yeah.
I love that Gloria Swanson pose. You know?
Yes. I'm beautiful and I know it.
We are back together. For tonight, we are talking about David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, the last and final film, Halloween Dies, I think it's called.
No, Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends.
Oh, it doesn't really end. Yes. Misleading title.
Yes.
Let's just say it's the final movie in the trilogy.
Yes. Just say final film.
So they keep saying about Star Wars and they go to the beginning again.
Exactly.
That's right. We are.
Oh, I stopped trying to figure that one out a long time ago. Are we into the prequel? Galaxy. Where are we in the story? You know.
So this one started out 2018. It got John Carpenter involvement, and I thought, as far as the music is concerned, that was his biggest influence. The film feels very much like a Blumhouse. It has all the production value that you would expect from one of the top quality horror studios. I know the first film when it came out, it was a showmaker. It was the talk of the town. Halloween is back. Nick Castle is back. Even though for limited spots here and there. Jamie Lee Curtis was back. It had all the familiar faces and new faces. So it felt familiar and new at the same time. We're all familiar with Michael Meyers. There's only so much you can do with that guy, so it's usually about his surrounding cast and the story that they feed into him that will usually make or break a movie. So Halloween, in my opinion, was an A+. There's actually a review on it, I think on Death Parade Film Fest. It's not there. Halloween Kills came out. What was that, 2021, guys? 2020? 2020. It had mixed
2021,
reviews.
last year.
2021, okay. Yeah. Came to mixed reviews. A lot of people, because there's no beginning, there's no end, it's the middle part. People are like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? It's the middle movie.
Right.
There will be an end, and
that's the whole problem that I had with it, is that people, were apparently not listening when it was originally announced that this was going to be a trilogy. In other words, one story told over the course of 3 films, and people were just, when they went to critique Halloween Kills, their big critique was there's no beginning and there's no ending. Well, duh. Yeah, you really, I don't know. Part of me thinks that those people maybe, shouldn't be reviewing or should be lightening up on the alcohol consumption beforehand. But no, there's no beginning, there's no end. Get over it.
Well, the same could be said about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right? The Two Towers didn't have a beginning or an end. I felt that was one of the, it was probably the least strongest. Let me walk
I don't recall reading as many review or critiques that use the fact there's no beginning and no end with the Two Towers. That for people who had a problem with the film, or even people who were praising the film. I didn't see that. I have just heard this endless array of criticism about Halloween Kills and it not having a middle or not having a beginning or an end.
True. Well, to some people, the movie could have a beginning and it also can have an end. But there, as you guys are talking about, there are people who
let me ask you, there's some things I did like about Halloween Kills, and I'll ask each of you guys what you think about this. What I did like was some of its take on the real life events that were going on with January 6th. the whole, the mob mentality and the protests, and then um, you have the sequences in Halloween Kills where the phrase evil dies tonight is chanted like it's a cult, type of thing. You have the Tommy Doyle character, the Anthony Michael Hall's character, really being the cheerleader for that. What did you guys think of that? I thought it was a rather interesting, something that's kind of inventive and an interesting take on what's going on in society as a whole. But what did you guys think of that? And what did you guys think of how they brought in a little bit Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance's character, with getting an amazing lookalike? At least from distance shots, you can reasonably think he is Dr. Loomis. What do you guys think of those two things?
Well, I basically, it was odd seeing Tommy Doyle back in this because, you'd figure, hey, I'm out of this town after growing up, but situations happen and you move home or you stay in your town. And his character, he definitely is one of those cheerleaders who want to end Michael Meyers, or somebody's gonna end up bad, And then the Loomis scene was really intelligently done, because I love Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, from the original trilogy and up until his death in real life. But his character, it was always good to know that, hey, there's going to be a Sam Loomis character, in these movies where, hey, we got to have him as our, anti-hero to help, stop Michael from going crazy and killing more people.
Right.
But yeah, I really, enjoyed that, so I'll let anyone else go for it.
Well, I'll agree with you there that, I'm kind of old school. As I get older, I want to see the original characters, if at all, brought back in. I was just talking about Ultraman Zerth, which is sort of a parody on the Ultraman series. And they had a bunch of the original Science Patrol officers and little background shots doing things. And I just love it when they allow that. It gives you something to look for once you notice the first one, so keep paying attention. And I think it shows a certain amount of respect to the people that went on and built this franchise for you. I mean, Christopher Lee always said turning down the role of Dr. Loomis was one of his biggest mistakes. So this was an important movie, a franchise. And I think it's really nice that they brought Mr. Pleasance back in the way that they did. Today, it's so easy to do a little CG at that sort of range and make it work. They didn't. They used a real person, which is maybe a little bit harder. But that was the thing. Not a lot of CG in this movie, or in the franchise, I should say. And we prefer it that way in our horror movies whenever possible, I think. So I liked that aspect to it very much.
I'll agree. The less CGI, the better. I don't want to say that horror enthusiasts or horror fans are more keen to the look of CGI. Like, we prefer as real as possible because it keeps us engaged and immersed, right, in the scariness and the atmosphere. And there's certain aspects where I think CGI does have its benefits when it's done absolutely right. Like, for example, we had Alex Proyas on, and he was putting on a short where the background was so incredibly done that you couldn't tell. And that had computer graphics. Everything was built on a green screen. But it was a mix of CGI and practical effects, and that was one of the masters of CGI. But if you're not on that level, you better do it real, because we're going to tell. we're going to tell quite easily, and it's an immersion breaker for me. as far as the movie is concerned, yes, I do love the practical effects. A lot of it was done through the camera. We can respect that, even with stuntmen, and do it safely, but make it real. Put some effort behind it, because we're going to put effort into not only watching your movie, and then we've talked about this previously. We're going to put effort into going to see you at conventions. We're going to put effort into talking about your films with other people. We're going to put effort into your merchandise. Horror fans, I'm sure we spend a lot of money outside the movie. We'll come back to see your sequels, your reboots, if it's done right. So putting a little bit more effort, I think in the long run, it pays off. How many films came out that were absolute crap? We just keep talking about The Thing, but how many films came out and people thought it was absolute crap, and then we respected it over the long run, right? As it aged, we respect it because we've seen all the effort that was put in behind the scenes to put up that vision, right? Movies, gain a cult following. We just spoke to Frank Farrell last week
about Spookies.
On Spookies and
Street Trash.
In Street Trash, thank you, Kevin. And that movie was done with practical effects. He had a lot of trouble in the back end, understandably. But on camera, there was a lot of really cool stuff going on that me personally as a fan, I love watching that stuff, right? I loved all of the creatures. I couldn't get enough of it, and I want to see a sequel. So I guess to summarize, the more you put in front of the camera, I think the better.
But what do you guys think, though, about the January 6th insurrection and the moments in Halloween? Should horror films be making political statements?
Oh, they have. Yeah, going back to George Romero. Yeah.
Well, what I mean is, do you go for that? Is that did it work for you in Halloween Kills?
I didn't even put those two together watching Halloween Kills. It just felt like the mob mentality which we've seen before. If anything, it felt like Frankenstein. We gotta get this guy, right. We gotta kill him, right. The pitchforks are out. That's what it felt like to me. And he literally got stuck with a pitchfork.
Right. That's right. You got to subscribe to Torch Monthly. That little torch out there.
But now that you mention it, Kevin, I guess there are some parallels. Movies like this will always kind of mimic real life. I don't know when that script was written, if it was written before or after January 6th. It felt like it was written maybe before, and it just so happened to have, now a parallel because it just happened afterward. I'd have to look at the timeline.
It may have happened before January 6th, but it may have just been a statement of sorts against the previous presidency. True. And everything that was going on with that. I just say I'm not sure that I want our horror films to be making political commentary. I just say that I think this particular instance was effectively done. It kind of makes a point about the mob mentality, about our rush to vengeance, rush to judgment, that kind of thing. I like that. I like that. Raise that fist.
No, it's like, and there are some horror fans, and I'm not one, but there will be a lot of horror fans who are just like with Kevin, saying, I shouldn't really bring political stuff into a horror film, because that will turn the horror fans off from your film. And they won't touch it, they won't watch it unless, they see it for free or on demand, and then they can decide.
Joe, I just don't know if we go to watch a horror film to necessarily think
political.
It's like with a lot of films. We go there to watch, to be entertained, or at least if it's going to be a message film, make it a drama. Come Oscar season time. I just don't know. There's a time and a place for it. Anyway, go ahead, Al.
I was gonna say there's a series called Dead Like Me, as I recall. about a girl who dies and she becomes a reaper. She has to collect the souls of the living, and they're talking about to her boss, as it were, about the problems involved with this. And he says, it's like watching a Buster Keaton movie. You see the guy fall down and you laugh, but if you get too close, you can see the tear in his eye. It's not funny anymore.
Right.
Politics are like that in a horror movie. If you can spoof it a little bit, keep it light, as it were, keep the range on it, stay back on any of the politics. Don't get real specific. Then it can be interesting. But when you start really turning it into a political statement, you're on very thin ice.
That requires a really deft touch, though. Who in Hollywood, how many would have that kind of light touch to do that?
Well, that's just it. You look at something like, well, I should say that. There are a lot of science fiction and horror movies where the question is raised but not answered, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot easier to say, is this right? Will this lead to that kind of end production? Is that what we want in our world and our life and so forth? But to include parts of current events into it, you always run a danger. Hats off to the people that are willing to throw those dice. And if you're right, well, hey, great. You just did something and you're going to get a reward for it. You're wrong, you just shut yourself down. So as we said, we put a lot of effort into this. We not only with the going and the buying and so forth, but the willing to put aside our disbelief and enjoy this particular production and believe that the monster is there and that these things can happen. So you're right. We put a lot of emotional effort into it just going there. So,
and also, for people who love scary movies, sometimes we just want to be scared.
Yeah.
We want a good story, that spooks
and a naked girl
daylights out of us.
Yes.
Instead of like, oh, hey, what's this?
A good story, gore, some TNA.
Yeah, that's about it, Johnny.
Yeah.
But now I will say that I did have, and I understand this is also because of this is a middle film in a trilogy.
Right.
I was disappointed with the fact that main characters like Jamie Lee Curtis and her daughter, or Jamie Lee Curtis especially, disappear for much of the film.
That was one of my top two. I really have two criticisms of Halloween Kills. Yeah, and one of them was the way they limited Jamie Lee Curtis basically just to the hospital. That's where she was the whole movie, really.
Right.
Like that in the trailer they showed her walking purposely through the hallways like she's about to confront but she was probably just going to the restroom. I forget. She was going nowhere.
Yeah. At her age, when you need to go, you got to go.
You got to go.
Ultimately, I understand that because this is a trilogy, because this is the middle film. I just thought you could have had a few more scenes with her.
She could have done a lot more, I thought. That was a waste of a Jamie Lee Curtis movie.
You could do that even in the middle part of
in Will Patton. I'll also say that was a waste of a Will Patton movie. And
here we go.
Over the years.
Here we go.
Hoping that you will see more of Will Patton in the Halloween Ends.
In the third one.
I like the fact we saw a little bit of Jamie Lee and Will Patton's character kind of bonding, kind of forming a relationship. I'd like to see that maybe developed a little bit more in the third film, understanding it's a horror film.
Now I want to talk about something that you guys probably wouldn't agree with because it's a Halloween movie.
What?
But Michael Meyers, and spoilers, you guys have had a couple years now, or at least a year to watch this movie. Michael Meyers takes an incredible amount of damage in this movie, critical, fatal damage. I know
I shot him 6 times.
I know he's invincible. We get that, right? We're not looking for Michael Myers to go down, in a slugfest. We know that there will be future movies after this. We get that. But we still, the way he got shot up, beat down, stabbed, to the point where any human, even any bionic human, is out, right? He is out.
Sure.
Even if he didn't get stabbed again, he would have bled out.
Right.
Oh yeah.
He would have blew out easily. For him to just jump up and then slaughter everybody else at that point, for me, and it sounds funny because it's a Halloween movie, but it jumped the shark. It became ludicrous. It became silly, especially with the evil dies tonight. You get you going, like maybe something's gonna happen. I know there's another movie, but it kind of gets you motivated. Like finally, people Haddonfield gonna take their city back, and they had him on the ropes. Maybe they could have devised a better plan for him to escape. I would have been happy with that. Like, maybe someone barges in, like a car comes in, knocks a few people, and then they look and he's limping off. They can't find him. I would have believed that.
Or he could have been stuck to the grill,
Or, right? Or, just throw some Deus Ex Machina in it. Like he escaped. How do you get away from us? I don't know, right? And then he's in his house licking his wounds, right? Okay, I get that. Maybe he's bandaged up. But for him to stand up, be like, like Superman, right? And then
he's Rocky Balboa.
For that,
after how many films and 42,
honestly, they never
43
portrayed
years.
Him that way, though. They've never portrayed him that's silly, though.
But my point is that after 43 years, you still expect logic.
I know.
Right? Suspension of belief.
Yes,
is what it comes down to.
Just have him riding on a unicorn effect in the last one.
Well,
that's right.
In Halloween 2,
he's gonna be out in space. So.
Have him burst with wings and fucking.
Well, Al mentioned, he's shot 6 times in Halloween 1. In Halloween 2, he is set fire on, completely engulfed in flames in the hospital, and then in he's eviscerated and stabbed, chopped in Halloween's 4, 5, and 6, and on into Rob. You gotta
I get it.
It's
no,
he loses the head.
Yeah,
I have sympathy for this, though. Have you tried shooting someone with a snub-nosed 38? It is hard to hit a man-sized target at that range. Let me tell you, not all of those bullets connected. I know that for a fact. Burning him, trust me, if you've ever tried to cremate a pet in your oven at home, it takes a lot more than you think to cremate, your gerbils. So trust me, a big guy like that would take a whole lot more.
Anthony, note to self, check James Curry's criminal record.
Right.
He is very detailed.
So these things don't surprise me. It's hard to actually kill people these ways,
I just say,
I have more sympathy.
If you were doing Foley work, you needed the sound of a gerbil dying.
Gerbil death.
In
my video, I have a sloth attack.
All right, so guys, expectations for Halloween Ends. What do you guys think?
I was wondering he was going to come up with he has a sound effect for an aardvark dying. Being killed.
Do we think we're going to see Michael Myers dead? And B, how long will he be dead for?
Dead, but with some kind of ambiguity.
Yes.
Don't give me that ambiguity shit.
No.
Look at Jason 10.
It's all about money.
Yes, money. Yeah. Look at Jason 10. They had him in suspended animation for like a millennia and then brought him back.
Wasn't it a spaceship and shit?
Yeah. Yes. Now I have to say, that movie had 2 things in it I love. One, you have a scene where
Lexa Doig.
Yes. But actually, it was the other lady whose nipples fell off. I love that.
Lisa Ryder.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then as for death, the first death they have in that, where he grabs the girl by the ponytail and shoves her head into the liquid on nitrogen or whatever it was, and then pulls out and smashes it on the counter, which was graphic. Because I can think about how, because of the density of the brain and so forth, because it's mostly fat, she mostly would have been still quite alive and feeling all of that while that happened.
Ouch.
And that was not an immediately fatal blow, as we see from the Battle of Visby. There's some history for you. So, but they could do something like that where they have, they could be in suspended animation, rebuilt, mad scientists, geneticists, clones. They can make a bunch of them coming out for the next one. That could be the next 10 of them. Clone 1, Clone 2, Clone 3. That could be the next. And then there's the musical.
Yeah, we could.
the musical followed by the comedy spoof.
That's
the
right.
Wayans brothers are
Oh gosh, that'd be
David
good,
Zucker. Our David Zucker are waiting for the comedy spoof of the Halloween films.
That's
We'll have
right.
Scary Movie 6.
Teen.
I don't know if the Zucker brothers would let me watch one of their movies anymore.
Yeah, but
David
I upset
Zucker
them the
did it.
last time.
David Zucker still does
yeah.
films, but no, Anthony, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. It's going to be an epic kind of ending, but with some kind of ambiguity to it, some kind of open ending, where they'll leave a very small room for Michael to resurrect, because it's all about money.
What about honoring? How about this? What about honoring John Carpenter's legacy? That guy's getting up in age. He probably doesn't want to do any more Halloween movies after this.
No.
How about honoring his legacy and saying, you know what? Let's provide a definitive end to this trilogy. Let's provide closure to his Michael Myers. That's not to say 4 years from now, you can't just come up with a new Halloween movie, right? It's Halloween.
Well, there
right?
could be a definitive ending then. Michael Myers breaks into the guy's house and kills him, kills his own creator there, disappears in a puff of logic. That's the definitive ending.
Yeah.
Until somebody else reimagines him.
Right.
There, what you could do is you could have him finally killed off.
We should have him break the fourth wall, like Blazing Saddles. Right?
Deadpool.
Ah, we could have him killed off. There's fiery explosion, whatever.
I'm expecting too much.
And
I could
no, not necessarily. And
I
then,
think the bigger question too is that, or the other question is, do you think that there's going to be a extended period of time before any next Halloween film after this one? Do you think that they'll actually give it a rest for a while and then come back to it, say, in 5-6 years?
No,
they're gonna milk this thing as
under.
long as it's turning a big profit. They're gonna milk it for all it's.
Well, no, because I'll say the only thing I might disagree with you guys is I'll say that you had a 7-8 year time difference between Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and this current trilogy. So I just wonder, because even the most money hungry movie producer has to look at oversaturation of the box office.
True.
Does it become profitable to make one Halloween film a year for the next 10 straight years, or something like that? I know that's kind of an extreme example, but will there be, you think, maybe a 4 to 5 year break where they come back with another Halloween?
I think
4 or 5 year break, yeah, sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think maybe 2 to 3, while they consider their next steps as far as how they're going to reintroduce them. But the thing you also have to realize is, and it's because I have kids, Halloween is almost as big, if not bigger, than Christmas. They're right
true.
there. They're
That is
right
true.
there. And Michael Myers, along with all the usual characters, Trick or Treat, Michael Duttery's Trick or Treat is massive. Spirit Halloween,
God.
I mentioned this before, but Spirit Halloween has completely taken over Halloween, right? When you think local, where we're going to get a costume, you go to one place only, maybe Party City. But Halloween, as far as celebratory, as far as people getting into it, even if you don't go out trick-or-treating, even if you don't watch scary movies, you're probably decorating your house. You're probably doing something to put candy out because there's going to be revelers outside. Knowing that, I think the audience, the platform for this movie, just because of its namesake, right? Just because it's named Halloween, and featuring one of the biggest characters of all time, I don't think they're going to shelve this guy for very long. It will be as long as it takes to find a new script that probably restarts a new trilogy.
New director.
Maybe it changes studios. Maybe Blumhouse says we had our turn with it, right? Someone else can have a turn. Maybe it goes to A24 Studios. Maybe we see an artsy version of Halloween. That would be pretty awesome. I would like.
I don't
to
see it
A24
leaving
do.
the Blumhouse though. I don't.
You know?
No.
If they sell it, like think of it, they can buy low and sell high. I don't know how much they spent on the license, but it's probably worth a lot more now.
No, but this is premier. This is premier Blumhouse property. It's exactly the type of
See, the thing is,
film
they also do a killing
yeah.
with their in-staff director, like James Wan.
Yeah.
Right. They still have the whole Conjuring. So
Yeah.
like Halloween was just like a bonus for them. Like they didn't really need it. They were already one of the big studios. Like just bringing on Halloween is like, we're just gonna have fun with this. Like we're already raking it in with movies like Malignant, La Llorona. Those movies, like they can churn those out like every other week.
I think it's too big of a cash cow for them to
so?
let go. They'd have to look at like projecting future box office numbers after the trilogy ends to see if it's viable for them to keep it or move on, with it. But I could see them holding on to this. I remember reading somewhere, and I'm trying to rack my brain to what it was, but something they did a poll or something of like top 5 familiar movie characters that are like remain ever popular with fans, and like 2 of the top 5 was James Bond and Michael Meyers. And I agree with you that Michael Myers will probably never die in some form or another. He'll go into something else, whether it's Blumhouse doing it, that's TBD. I know there's even been talk amongst Rob Zombie fans to do a 3rd film based on his version of Michael Myers, with the 7-foot tall
Tyler Mane,
unkillable superhuman Tyler Mane.
I like Tyler Mane's Halloween. He fit the bill. And
I like the first one. I like the first one. The second one was
just a little out there.
The first one, I love the backstory for Michael Myers. It kind of humanized him a little bit.
Well, the second one, when you turn Dr. Loomis into a ego-driven media whore, basically, I thought that was just really. So I don't think that was something that Donald Pleasance would have ever gone to, but that's my iteration of Dr. Loomis. But the first one I thought was pretty inventive enough. I just didn't like the fact that you're making Michael, this little kid in the opening sequences, all of a sudden grows up to be a 7'2", Superman. I didn't buy that, and to me, he looks far too ridiculously imposing.
Well, maybe that's what we find out. Something in the prison food.
Yeah.
Something
Bird-Eye Gordon in the prison food.
Talking about whether or not they'll make a remake or continue this.
Hold on. I've got something from... You want to pause this for just a second?
All right. So, in closing, guys, Halloween Trilogy, we talked about our expectations, what we've seen in the first 2. Where do you guys think this is going to land as far as the pantheon of horror films? Where are you thinking this? Should we measure the final film against other singular films? Or should we just say, you know what, we're going to have to look at this whole trilogy? Because there's never been, as far as I'm concerned, a trilogy of Halloween movies. They've just kind of just made Halloween after Halloween after Halloween after Halloween after Halloween, and they just made random stories as they went. So if we judge Halloween Trilogy against something else, we're going to be comparing apples to oranges. True.
I look at it this way. We have, like as you say, all those different Halloween films. If you exclude Halloween 3, you have Halloween all the way up to like 12. God bless you. And then the rehash of the new remakes by Rob Zombie, the sequel, and now the 3rd attempt of like the trilogy of Halloween films. So that's like almost like close to 20 movies almost. Yeah, I could be off, but hey, I'm never good at math, Johnny. But again, I look forward to seeing how this will end. And I would say probably keep it separate, from all the rest, the Halloween films.
Yeah, so you think you judge them separately.
Right. Gotta judge them separately. That's all I wanted to say on that subject,
Kevin,
Johnny.
how are we judging the trilogy?
I'm kind of like Joe. Is that I think you have to. It's hard because this has been identified as completely as a trilogy. So to me, it's almost one story. It's almost one epic, long, story. These three films. So I would probably make the comparison of this trilogy.
Closest one would be 1 and 2.
What?
Like 1 and 2, those feel like the most contiguous of all the series.
Oh, the first
Halloween and second.
Yeah, I could see comparing it to those two films as far as the continuing, storyline. Where it would, deviate away from it is Halloween 4, 5, and 6. Certainly Halloween 3. And then you get into the Rob Zombie films. The zombie films are almost like in a multiverse.
Yeah,
they're a different, kind of thing. So, so I'd say that the three films should be looked at as one, and compared it maybe with the first two Halloween.
Al, thoughts?
Well, for me, we sort of have two questions. We're going to have more come back. We're going to have more trilogy come back. Trilogy takes more money. That's not going to say it can't happen, but it takes a lot of money to get a lot of interest to get that kind of money together. I would be very surprised if we see another trilogy. Another movie? Oh yeah, we're going to see more of these. We'll be seeing these till we're old and gray, which is tomorrow. But we'll be seeing these forever and ever and ever. We haven't even moved on to making some possessed item of his go to a kid or something like that. His spirit entering a doll or who knows what. So, and then of course the female version of him. So, they will make that one.
Make the female version of Michael Myers and a male version of Laurie Strode. Call him Lauren Strode or something like that.
There we go. Put some big old stripper titties on them on there. They're bulletproof.
Larry Strode
to
the rescue.
Right. That's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next show. For Kevin Nicholson, Joe Flynn, Al Omega, myself, wishing you a good night. Happy horror, guys.
Remember, keep America strong. Watch horror films.
Oh, you nailed it.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Welcome back, Al.
Thanks.
Welcome back.